What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and in today's video we've got a new 2022 Major League Baseball mock draft. Haven't done one of these in a while, and I'm back with another one today as of May 26th or 28th, 2022. This is my mock draft. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn notifications. This is a place to be on baseball YouTube, whether you want draft content, prospects, what's happening right now in Major League Baseball. It doesn't matter. This is the place to be, so make sure you like and subscribe. And let's go ahead and get into this video with the new mock draft. And with the first overall selection in the 2022 Major League Baseball draft, the Baltimore Orioles select shortstop Brooks Lee out of Cal Poly University. Brooks Lee is a guy that virtually never strikes out. He was a pretty well regarded prospect out of the California high school ranks when he was taken in the 35th round by the San Francisco Giants. But Brooks Lee all of a sudden is way better than a 35th round player, because this is a guy this year that hit 15 home runs, 54 RBIs, and a 367 batting average for Cal Poly this year, posting a 471 on base percentage, a 681 slugging, and a 1,152 OPS. And to top that off of last year's season of 342 with 10 home runs and 57 RBIs, he's clearly one of the best players in this draft and one of the best hitters in this draft, and possibly the best college player coming out of coming right now. And this is a guy that the Orioles are going to get for kind of underslot value. He's not going to be as much as a Druw Jones or a Trumar Johnson or whatever. He's not going to be as much, but he's still going to be a really, really good player. With the second selection in the 2022 Major League Baseball draft, the Arizona Diamondbacks select Trumar Johnson, second baseman out of Mays High School in Georgia. So, Trumar Johnson also is a guy kind of similar to Khalil Watson of last year's draft. Trumar Johnson is a guy that has a ton of power and is going to be a potential number one overall choice. He has basically Wade Boggs' plate discipline and Vladimir Guerrero Sr.'s bat-to-bat skills. This is a guy that has a ton of power and is going to be a really good guy at second base. Now, you're going to be putting Jordan Lawler and Trumar Johnson as that second base and shortstop combo. I think that the Diamondbacks do end up passing on Druw Jones here. I just don't think that they'll be taking Druw Jones. They have a lot of center fielders already, being Corbin Carroll, Alec Thomas. They have a lot of center field depth already. I see them going with Trumar Johnson, the second baseman. With the third overall selection in the 2022 Major League Baseball draft, the Texas Rangers select outfielder Druw Jones from West Lane High School in Georgia. In my opinion, he's by far the best player in this Major League Baseball draft. I mean, he is a five-tool player that is not only great defensively, but great with the bat. I mean, did you see his stats? He's committed to Vanderbilt, but he clearly will go to the Major League draft. And, of course, he is the son of Druw Jones, who made 5 All-Star teams, won 10 Gold Gloves in a 17-year in the majors. And he's very similar to Druw Jones at this age. And he's the best defensive center fielder in the draft class, and is one of the better hitters as well. Druw Jones is the best player in this draft. But he does fall because of, he falls because, for one, the Orioles did not really want to select him with, they don't like to spend a lot of money with the high draft picks that they have. Trumar Johnson was the better fit and maybe the better overall player to the Diamondbacks there. With the fourth overall selection in the 2022 Major League Baseball draft, the Pittsburgh Pirates select outfielder Elijah Green out of IMG Academy in Florida. They selected Sammy Siani back in 2019. That just didn't work out. But Elijah Green is the guy that has potential to work out. Now, I'm not the highest on Elijah Green myself. I think that he's got a lot of swing and miss potential. And obviously, he has a lot of potential if he hits that potential of what his potential is. But also, if he tends to be a bust, then he's also not going to be a very good player at all. It's kind of really up here or really down here with Elijah Green for me. But with the Pirates, I think that this would be a solid pick. If you end up keeping Brian Reynolds for the future, Elijah Green can slide in left or right field. And, Elijah Green could be a really solid player. It's just if he can kind of, that swing and miss type thing, oh my, he's going to be good. With the fifth overall selection in the 2022 Major League Baseball draft, the Washington Nationals select Kevin Parada, catcher out of Georgia Tech. Kevin Parada is a really good catcher out of Georgia Tech, and he was one of the best high school catchers back in the 2020 Major League Baseball draft and could have gone in the second or third round then. But then he went to Georgia Tech, and that ended up being a rather good option for him because obviously he is going to be selecting 5 in my mock draft right now. It's been said that the Washington Nationals are targeting Kevin Parada, and they want Kevin Parada on their team. And there's not many teams that would say no to a Kevin Parada. Considering the stats that he put up, a 256 batting average, 26 home runs, 85 RBIs, a 451 on base percentage, a 728 slugging, a 1,179 OPS. He was absolutely fantastic. And I think that if the Orioles didn't have Adley Rutschman, they could select him with the number 1 overall pick. It's just they're not. And I think that he could go second or third possibly here, but I don't have him going there in this mock draft. With the 6th overall pick, the Miami Marlins select outfielder, third base, DH, we don't really know, Jacob Berry out of Louisiana State University. This is a guy that continues to hit wherever he goes. It's just he doesn't really have a position in the field, which I don't think is going to be too much in the worries of them here. And they get another very good player here. They got Khalil Watson last year, big steal. And Jacob Berry, I think, is going to be a really solid player here, too. He had 381 with 15 home runs and 47 RBIs, a 474 on base percentage, a 661 slugging, and a 1,135 OPS. And he did similar things last year in 2021 at Arizona with 17 home runs, 70 ribbies, and a 352 batting average. He's a really good player. He can hit the ball really well. With the 7th selection in the 2022 Major League Baseball draft, the Chicago Cubs select shortstop Jackson Holliday out of Stillwater High School in Oklahoma. This has been one of the biggest risers of the draft so far, and understandably, because Holliday is the son of Matt Holliday, and Jackson Holliday has been a big riser. He started to just kind of put everything together. He's one of the best hitters in this draft class, and he definitely should go in the first 5 to 10 selections in this draft. And he's gotten faster, he's gotten stronger, and now he flashes some plus run times as a senior, and is consistent plus runner, and his throwing's better too, while being one of the best hitters in this draft. Jackson Holliday is going to be a really solid player, and the Cubs get a pretty good value pick here at number 7. At number 8, the Minnesota Twins select Daniel Suzak, the catcher out of Arizona University. This is a guy that I've been a really big fan of in the draft. Daniel Suzak, I think, is going to be a really good hitter, and he's going to be pretty decent behind the plate as well. Daniel Suzak is really going to provide a lot for this Minnesota Twins team in the future, and they really do need a catcher. And he's performed really well hitting-wise, at 367 batting average with 12 home runs and 60 RBIs this year, and last year 335 batting average with 12 home runs and 65 RBIs. He's had a really good year. Really good couple of years at Arizona, and Daniel Suzak, I think, is going to be a really good player. I don't think that he's better than Parada, but still a very solid player. With the 9th overall selection, the Kansas City Royals select Gavin Cross, the outfielder from Virginia Tech University. Cross is another guy that I think could be very solid. Cross could play either the corners or center field, and he really jumped up on kind of the draft radar in 2020, when his freshman season came, when he hit 369 in 16 games. He has a chance to be an above-average hitter with above-average power. Some evaluators do have a little bit of concern about his contact rates and strike zone control, but for Gavin Cross, I think there is a lot of good signs to be right now, because Cross is a guy that, is going to be one of the first outfielders off the board, maybe the first college-wise. And for Gavin Cross this year, he had 14 home runs, 41 RBIs, and a 324 batting average with a 406 on base percentage, a 639 slugging, and a over 1,000 OPS. Next up, with the 10th selection in the Major League Baseball 2022 draft, the Colorado Rockies select Jace Young, second baseman / third baseman out of Texas Tech. This is one of the guys that I'm a really, really big fan of. Young has been really good throughout his college baseball career, showing more power than his brother, Josh Young, who's one of the top prospects in baseball at this age, and also has been a possible better player than Josh Young, and we know how good Josh Young is. I think that the Rockies are getting exceptional value here at number 10, getting Jace Young. I think he could be a top 5 selection in my opinion. Next up, the Mets get their compensation for Kumar Rocker at number 11, where they select Cam Collier, the third base out of Chipotle JC College. Cam Collier kind of shows some signs to me of Rafael Devers, which excites everybody who just heard that statement right there. Cam Collier, I think, is going to be a really good baseball player, and he's only 17 years old and one of the youngest players in this draft, and is going to be really, really good. He was the son of former big leaguer Lou Collier, and he was one of the most intriguing prospects for the 2020 draft until he decided to reclassify to the 2022 Major League Baseball draft. And yeah, he is one of the youngest bats in this draft, while, in my opinion, having some of the most potential in this draft. So next up at number 12, the Detroit Tigers select outfielder Justin Crawford from Bishop Gorman High School in Nevada. Now, another great outfielder, or a pretty good outfielder, has came from Bishop Gorman High School in Nevada, being Joey Gallo. And Crawford is the son of Carl Crawford, and this is the guy, Justin Crawford, keeps on jumping up the draft board. And also Austin Wells went there. But this is a guy that's very speedy, and he's going to be a threat on the base pads, and he's one of the best athletes in this class. And he has a chance to be a really good plus defender in center field. I would like to see what his hitting is going to turn into. But Crawford, I think, is going to be a very solid selection for the Tigers at number 12. At number 13, we see our first pitcher off the board, and the Angels select Dylan Lesko, the starting pitcher out of Buford High School in Georgia. This is a guy who had a chance to be the first overall pick before having Tommy John surgery, and that has been a reoccurring theme in this draft class, to where a lot of the good college arms like Peyton Pallett, Landon Sims have all had to have Tommy John surgery or some kind of injury. But Dylan Lesko, I don't think it's going to harm him too much. And, a guy such as, for the Dodgers, Walker Buehler, had Tommy John before the draft or after the draft, I don't know, but still is a very, very good pitcher to this day. At number 14, the New York Mets select Brock Porter, another starting pitcher out of Orchard St. Lake Mary's High School in Michigan. He posted a 0.55 ERA in a 12-0 season last year, and winning Gatorade Player of the Year, while also playing on the best team in high school baseball right now in Orchard St. Lake Mary's Prep High School in Michigan. Brock Porter, I think, is going to be really good, and I think he does have a chance to be the first pitcher off the board, but in this mock draft, he is the second. Next up, we have the 15th, the San Diego Padres select Connor Prelip, the left-hander from Alabama College. And Connor Prelip is a guy that, it is a bit of a reach here, I do think. It's a little bit of a reach. But this dude had a number 1 overall pick potential before injuring his elbow, which, like I said, a reoccurring theme that led to Tommy John surgery last May. He returned to the mound with a bullpen workout in front of more than 100 evaluators in late May, and expected to kind of show his stuff again at the draft combine, which we'll know more then. His slider is one of the most devastating pitches there is, sitting in the mid-90s and touching 90 miles per hour with 2 plane break. This guy, Connor Prelip, I think he's going to be very solid, and it has been rumored that the Padres, if Lesko or Prelip is still on the board, they're going to be taking him. Next up with the 16th overall selection, the Cleveland Guardians select Zach Neto, the shortstop from Campbell College. Zach Neto is a guy that is coming from, obviously, a smaller college, but still is very proven. He's Campbell's most talented position player since Cedric Mullins, which Mullins had, obviously, a very good year last year, but really hasn't proven to be the same thing this year, unfortunately. But for Neto, he's proved to be very good with Campbell, posting this year a .407 batting average with 14 home runs and 46 RBIs. He's been really, really good, and he hit for a .405 batting average last year. This guy's really, really good, and Zach Neto, I think, should have more hype than he does. I know it's because he goes to a smaller college, but still. Next up at number 17, the Philadelphia Phillies select Brandon Berea, left-hander out of American Heritage High School in Florida. Brandon Berea, I think, has a lot of potential in this draft. And I think he's going to be very solid. My big board right now, I have him ranked um, kind of that 17 to 20 range right now. Barriera is been very good, and there have been some good prospects that have came to American Heritage High School in Plantation, Florida in the past, such as Eric Hosmer and Tristan Casas. And he has touched 96 over the course of the summer and reminds people of former Yankee great Ron Gertie. There's a ton of strikes and goes right after righties, and of course is committed to Vanderbilt because that just makes sense. Next up at 18, the Cincinnati Reds select shortstop Cole Young out of North Allegheny High School in Pennsylvania. It makes sense that the Reds are going to select a shortstop here. I think this is kind of a given pick. I think DeLauder would be up for contention here, but I don't think so. There have been some good players that have came from the Pittsburgh area, such as Neil Walker and Austin Hendrick previously, and he needs to be seen more than once to be truly appreciated as kind of what they feel. But he's committed to Duke right now, and he has some gap power. And I think that Cole Young could be a very solid shortstop for the Cincinnati Reds team that is in no rush to be good for the future, obviously. Next up at number 19, the Oakland Athletics select Dylan Beavers, outfielder from California. Dylan Beavers is a guy that kind of shows some people flashes of Christian Yelich, and Christian Yelich is a very good thing to be compared to. He had 18 home runs and slugged .630 at Cal in 2021. A rough summer in the Cape Cod League, though. But if he's locked in, and when he is at his best, he is a 5-tool player that is very similar to Christian Yelich, which is a very good side to come by. He could stay in center field, but probably more likely is at the corner position. At the 20th overall selection, my Atlanta Braves here get a very good pick, being Chase DeLauder, the outfielder from James Madison University. Another guy that shows me signs of Christian Yelich, and I think he could be Christian Yelich. Now, he hasn't really developed his power just yet. He really is a guy that's going to hit for a high batting average right now, and hopefully the Braves can develop that power. He's probably going to be playing one of the corner positions, and the Braves could use some outfield help right now. Of course, DeLauder's not going to be up immediately. I think he's going to take a little bit. But still, I think Gabriel Hughes would be in contention here, who is my next pick. The Mariners select starting pitcher Gabriel Hughes from Gonzaga University, and he all of a sudden is one of the better pitchers in this draft with everybody that has ended up going down in this draft. And Gabriel Hughes, though, don't get it twisted, is still very good. He has a devastating slider along with a very good fastball that is touch 100. And this is a guy last season in 2022 that posted an 8-1 record with a 2.62 ERA in 13 games started. Next up is the Cardinals, and they select starting pitcher Blade Tidwell out of the University of Tennessee. Blade Tidwell is a guy that is rather solid, and I think that Tidwell could be very good. He's topped out at 99, and he has some good pitches along to go with that, such as a curveball, slider, and changeup. And he has some decent control for those pitches as well. And, Weathers was, Ryan Weathers of the San Diego Padres is one guy that was drafted rather high coming from Tennessee. And Tidwell this past year for Tennessee was rather solid, Like I said, some pitchers are going to be jumping up a little bit in this draft just because of the sure fact that, so many players got injured. But Tidwell is one of those guys that still, I think, would have been in this range. Posting a 2-1 record with a 2.54 ERA. He pitched a little bit out of the bullpen this year, but still was rather solid for his team. Next up, the Blue Jays select outfielder Druw Jones out of Stanford University. This guy was a guy who had potential to go top 10, but if it wasn't for his incredibly slow start, he still was hitting over 1,000 OPS right now. But still, if it wasn't for his slow start, he would probably be top 10 and closer to where Sal Frelick went last year with the Milwaukee Brewers. Next up is for the Red Sox. They select outfielder Jordan Beck from the University of Tennessee. Obviously, Tennessee is one of the best college baseball programs this year. They are number one, I'm pretty sure, this year, and they are really good. And Jordan Beck is another guy that is going to be eligible for the draft this year. He was actually selected by the Red Sox in the 14th round of the 2019 amateur draft, so they clearly have some interest. He had 286 with 14 home runs and 48 RBIs, a 374 on base percentage, a 546 slugging, and a 920 OPS. So they clearly have some interest in Jordan Beck, and I think that he would be a good pick. Now, next up at number 25 is Cooper Hajerpe. Yeah, a weird name, but he comes from Oregon State and posted a 2.36 ERA last year and really started bursting onto the scene, but I don't think any of this was fake. This guy has a very similar delivery to Chris Sale, and I think that this guy might be the next Chris Sale. With some good developing, he could be the next Chris Sale. That's what I see in him. I see a guy that could be the next Chris Sale. He's got that funky left-handed delivery, but still, I think he's going to be really solid. Next up, the Chicago White Sox select left-hander Robbie Snelling out of McQueen High School in Nevada. This is a guy that kind of has bursted onto the scene here recently, but I don't think it's really anywhere near fake. He is committed to Louisiana State right now, and he hit the showcase circuit as a big, strong left-handed pitcher who was also ended up as a big-time football recruit. He was originally planning to head to Arizona to play both sports, but he ended up changing gears and switched his commitment to Louisiana State. Now, he has had a fastball touching 97 with some other pitches such as a curveball and changeup. He's got 3 decent pitches coming out of high school, and he could be very solid. I think that the White Sox also get good value here at number 26. Next up, the Milwaukee Brewers select third baseman Tucker Tomlin out of Hammond High School in Columbia, South Carolina. And this is a guy that is one of the best prep hitters in this draft class. Not the best, but he is pretty solid. Tucker Tomlin is. Tucker Tomlin is a guy that could be seen as a reach here, considering he's ranked number 42 on MLB.com, and it could be a little bit of a reach. He's committed to Louisiana State as well. But, I think that this is kind of a player that, you're surprised to see the Brewers take a hitter here. You usually would think maybe they would reach for a pitcher or something. But I think that this guy could be pretty solid. And he has some good bat speed as well and a good left-handed stroke. And next up, the Houston Astros select another outfielder from the University of Tennessee, being Druw Gilbert. Druw Gilbert is another pretty solid player. And, the Astros right now have to go with the best player available. And that is because they haven't had a first-round pick, I'm pretty sure, in a couple of years at this point. So they need to capitalize on what they can get being the best player available. And he can play center field, left field, and a relief pitcher. Interesting to see what they'll do with that relief pitching career of his there. He had 7 games and no ERA. Maybe he could be pretty solid out of there too, and he's a pretty good hitter, hitting .388 with 8 home runs and 59 RBIs. I'm a pretty big fan of Druw Gilbert, and I think that this is a very good value pick for the Astros. Next up at number 29, the Tampa Bay Rays select Sterling Thompson, outfielder from Florida University. Sterling Thompson is kind of right here in this range, and it seems like the Tampa Bay Rays are going to be going for an outfielder this draft, and Sterling Thompson could be a very solid player to go for here. He was a solid prospect as a Florida high schooler, landing in the top 200 for MLB Pipeline, which is pretty solid. And instead of going to the 5-round draft that summer, he's going to head to Florida. And Sterling Thompson, I think, could be a pretty good player, and we know how good the Rays are with developing everything there is. I mean, they made Manuel Margot into a pretty solid player. Francisco Mejia looks like he could be a solid player. I mean, and this guy has versatility too. He can play second base, center field, right field, and he had 10 home runs, 48 RBIs, and a .344 batting average in 2022. I think that this is a guy that could be pretty solid and a good value pick. And next up at number 30, the San Francisco Giants select Jackson Ferris, left-hander out of IMG Academy. In the last mock draft I did, I had him going number 4 overall to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Obviously, his stock has went very much so down since then. But still, Jackson Ferris at number 30, I think is a pretty solid pick. He made a name for himself last spring when he eventually outdueled the Phillies' first-round pick from last year, Andrew Painter, who I was a big fan of. And he's sitting in that 92 to 95 range for his fastball, along with a curveball and changeup, and has the potential to be a 2 or 3 starter if everything comes together. He is committed to Mississippi as well. That is the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you drop a like on it, subscribe to the channel, and turn notifications. What did you think about the mock draft? Did you think I missed some picks, or what did you think? Make sure you leave it in the comments. And thank you for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Thank you for watching, and peace.